Hey guys, in this video we'd like to demonstrate the usefulness of dynamic named ranges in Microsoft Excel. This is just the basics of dynamic ranges. More detail is covered in our Formula Workshop courses, but here's an overview. So with standard data validation as an example, you'll notice here on the Data tab under Data Validation, this list that we're going to have over here is currently using the source of N4 through N7 for its list. Now that means hitting this drop down over here, we have those four choices. Now the downside is if you were to add another department, let's say purchasing, the problem with this is with the standard data validation is it doesn't automatically include that as a choice. What you would normally then have to do is Data tab, Data validation, and adjust your source every time the list is amended. So the purpose of dynamic named ranges is that we hit a drop down and we will have, as choices are added, the list just grows automatically. So yeah, sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and let's get started. So to create our dynamic named range, two formulas will be required. One will be the offset function and another will be the count A in this example. So just noting over here on the spreadsheet, I have already listed the offset arguments required for the offset function, and just opening up the formula just to give you guys a little preview. The offset function consists of reference, rows, columns, height and width. Now rows and columns are, you notice, not enclosed within square braces, therefore they're mandatory arguments. Height and width in square brackets indicate optional arguments. And of course the count A function, what that does is counts the values in a given set of cells. So we'll start off by creating the dynamic named range, where what we'll do is we'll navigate over to the Formulas tab and we'll click the Define Name button. And we can give this any name, but let's call this Dynamic Department. Right. So the scope will be the workbook, and in the Refers To box, this is where we begin building the offset function. So starting off by pressing equals and offset, opening brackets. Now remembering the first argument for the offset function is the reference argument, which is basically the starting point. In this case, we're going to use this second list over here, cell Q1. Following that, by pressing comma, moving into the rows argument. Now we can actually just leave this empty, even though it is a required argument. But what we're going to do is we're going to set this at 0. We're going to go comma, which moves us into the columns argument. We're going to set this at 0, which again we could also leave empty. Now what we will have to do, this is where it gets clever, we need to define the height of this named range. Now to do that, basically we'll use the count A function, and in this case we'll select the entire column Q. Now what this will do is it will return a result of 5, so it will return 5 cells as the height. We want to exclude, in this case, the department heading row. So what we'll do is we're closing the brackets for count A, we'll deduct 1. We'll press comma, and moving over to the width argument, we'll type the number 1, because the named range is going to be 1 column wide. Closing the brackets and clicking OK. Now what should hopefully happen, if we go to this cell over here and we look to build some data validation by visiting Data and Data Validation, for the settings, instead of allowing any value, we'll change our source to list. And in the source box, we'll start off by pressing equals, and then we'll press F3 to bring up the Paste Name dialog box. Choosing Dynamic Department, which again, remember, is a dynamic named range, we click OK. We then hit OK again. Now on the drop down, you'll notice we have the 4 choices listed in column Q minus the department heading. Now the great thing is, if we were to add more choices to this column, information technology, and so on, you'll notice what should now happen automatically on this data validation drop down, those additional choices should automatically show in the list. So guys, hopefully this is just a little bit of an insight as to the power of dynamic named ranges. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and yeah, we look forward to seeing and hearing from you in the future. Thanks for your time. Cheers.